The time is 1984. The Soviet Union sent a space probe to Venus. Before that, people had no idea about Venus. But in this mission, they saw something so far away that even today, 42 years later, every country, be it NASA, Russia, China, or India, is afraid to go to Venus. But the question is, what exactly did the Soviet Union see on Venus? In 1969, humans first set foot on the moon. Since then, scientists have sent spacecraft to Mars, Saturn, or any satellite of Jupiter many times. Even visionary people like Elon Musk are thinking of establishing a human settlement on Mars. But have you ever thought about living so close to Earth? Why does no one ever talk about establishing a settlement on Venus, a planet the size of Earth? Leave the settlement. What is the reason for this? What secrets are hidden on Venus? The answer to this question is hidden in a mission of the Soviet Union conducted 42 years ago. In that mission, something happened that surprised scientists. Even there are some pictures of that mission that scientists still cannot explain. So I am Shaun. I am with you. Through this video, you will understand how terrifying and mysterious the brightest star that shines in the eastern sky in the morning and evening, which we know as the Venus, is. However, you do not have to be a science expert to watch this video, because I will explain the whole thing very simply. The video will be very interesting, so definitely watch it till the end, and give a like at the beginning. After the end of World War II, world politics was polarized between two superpowers, the United States and the then Soviet Union. The Cold War began, a silent competition that was not limited to geopolitics. Rather, it also affected space research and technology. Both countries wanted to dominate the world, and space technology became the most effective means of achieving this. The competition was called the space race, to be able to walk in space without having to land on Earth. America was lagging behind at the beginning of this race. Soviet Russia was advancing at a rapid pace. In 1957, they sent the first artificial satellite, named Sputnik 1, into space. Then, gradually, history was made with the first human explorer Yuri Gagarin and the Lunar 2 mission that touched the surface of the moon. The Soviets were ahead in everything. Soon after, their eyes fell on one of the most mysterious and closest planets in the solar system, Venus. Venus is the closest planet to Earth, only 27 million kilometers. It is the second planet to Earth in terms of orbit. What makes it even more special is the similarity in size and composition. Venus is about 95% of Earth's volume, and its mass and density are also very similar. Both planets have thick atmospheres. Because of this similarity, astronomers call Earth and Venus the twin sisters. Because of such similarities, scientists in the 1960s imagined that life could exist in some form on Venus. Because while Earth is a bubble of life, is its twin planet also a desert? If an expedition finds the first life outside Earth, it will be an unforgettable milestone for human civilization. And from that place, the Soviets started their groundbreaking Venus mission. But the problem was obvious. The surface of Venus could not be seen through a telescope because the planet was surrounded by a thick and dense cloud cover. In 1960, the famous American astronomer Carl Sagan published a research paper. He clearly stated that the thick cloud around Venus is actually a layer of greenhouse gases, mainly carbon dioxide. This gas traps the sun's heat, increasing the temperature abnormally. Since Venus is much closer to the sun, the temperature will be even higher. According to Sagan's theory, the temperature there is so high that it is impossible for any life to survive. If an animal from Earth were sent, it would burn up instantly. Most space agencies lost interest in Venus as soon as this theory was published. But the Soviet Union took it as a challenge. They decided that they had to reach the surface of Venus and unravel its secrets. The 12th of February 1961. The Soviets built 2 probes under the Venera 1 mission. Why 2 probes in such a short time? Because the technology of that time was not as advanced as it is today. The computing power of your smartphone today was several thousand times less than that used in the moon mission at that time. So, to ensure success, it was customary to build additional probes. The 2 probes were launched with the help of the R-7 ballistic missile mounted on the head of a rocket. The 2 probes reached about 100,000 kilometers from Venus, but the intense heat and radiation of the sun gradually damaged their sensors and thermal control systems. On February 17, they sent their last signal to Earth and then disappeared forever in the abyss of space. Venera 1 failed, but the Soviets did not stop there. Amid the Soviet failures, in 1962, America's NASA sent its Mariner 2 probe. It successfully flew within 35,000 kilometers of Venus. For the first time in history, a man-made device had come so close to another planet. After collecting data for 42 minutes, the probe sent a sensational message to Earth. Carl Sagan's greenhouse theory was absolutely true. The surface temperature of Venus is about 425 degrees Celsius, 480 degrees by modern standards. At this temperature, even lead becomes liquid, twice as hot as boiling water. However, Mariner 2 revealed another truth. Venus's atmosphere is so thick that there is a layer of clouds about 80 kilometers above its surface, and nothing is known about the surface below it. NASA quickly realized that there was no possibility of life on Venus, so they shifted their attention from Venus to the Moon and Mars. But the Soviets were not deterred by NASA's decision. They believed they were on the verge of a major discovery. In 1965, they built the more powerful Venera 2 probe. It weighed about 963 kilograms. It was equipped with a magnetometer, Geiger counter, and cosmic ray detector. In 1966, it covered a distance of only 24,000 kilometers. Scientists had calculated that the most important data would start coming in exactly 38 minutes later. But at that moment, all communication was lost. Later, an investigation revealed that the intense heat of the sun had destroyed its outer thermal coating, causing the equipment inside to burn out. Then came Venera 3. It was launched on the 16th of November 1965. On the 1st of March 1966, it entered Venus's atmosphere, albeit 4 minutes ahead of schedule. It was the first probe in history to crash onto the surface of another planet. But unfortunately, the probe immediately became immobile due to the intense pressure and heat of the surface. It could not send any data. They learned from each failure. They realized that not only heat, but also pressure had to be overcome. In 1967, Venera 4 was built. Its landing capsule was 3.5 meters high. It was made like a metal sphere, which could withstand 400 degrees Celsius and 25 atmospheric pressure. That is to say, 25 times the pressure on Earth's surface. The temperature inside the capsule was kept at -4 degrees. When the probe was 52 kilometers above the surface of Venus, the temperature was 33 degrees and the pressure was the same as on Earth. This was a ray of hope, but as soon as it descended 26 kilometers, the temperature jumped to 262 degrees and the pressure stood at 22 atmospheric. The capsule broke apart at this pressure. In scientific terms, implosion. The mission ended before reaching the surface. At the same time, NASA's Mariner 5 observed Venus from just 4,000 kilometers away and reported its surface pressure was 90 atmospheres and the temperature was 480 degrees Celsius. Its atmosphere is 96% carbon dioxide, with little nitrogen and toxic sulfuric acid. Combining this report and the data from Venera 4, scientists were convinced that Venus is a hell-like planet. Venera 5 and Venera 6 were launched in 1969. The landing capsule was reinforced, and the parachute was shortened to reduce friction. Despite sending data for 53 minutes, Venera 5 did not reach the surface, and Venera 6 also became inactive 11 kilometers from the surface. This increased the pressure on Soviet scientists. On the other hand, in 1969, NASA successfully sent men to the moon, Apollo 11. The Venera mission had to be successful to protect the image of the Soviet Union. Scientists then began to think differently. Based on the idea that a submarine could withstand the pressure of the deep ocean, an oval titanium capsule was built capable of withstanding a pressure of 180 atmospheres and a temperature of 540 degrees. It was accompanied by automatic sensors and a thermal protection system, which would reduce the temperature inside the lander to -8 degrees. This capsule is part of Venera 7. On the 15th of December 1970, the probe entered the atmosphere of Venus, but shortly after entry, most communication was cut off. Fortunately, the lander was operational. After opening the parachute, it was only 10 kilometers above the surface when the parachute tore and it crashed into the surface of Venus at a speed of about 60 kilometers per hour. The capsule was tilted, but a medium-sized antenna was operational. It sent a very weak signal for 23 minutes. For the first time in history, a man-made device touched down on the ground of another planet and sent data. It is known that there is no soil on the surface of Venus. It has a hard rock cover on top. There is no sign of water. Venera 8. Successful landing and identification of the rock type. Venera 8 was launched in 1972. This time, the probe speed was reduced to 25 kilometers per hour with the help of a parachute. The temperature was further controlled using a refrigeration unit of lithium nitrate blocks inside it. It successfully landed on Venus on the 22nd of July 1972 and sent data. Venera 9 and 10. First images and panoramic view. 1975. The Soviets sent an orbiter and lander together for the first time in the Venera 9 mission. The orbiter would orbit Venus and transmit the lander's signals to Earth, as well as observe its atmosphere. A camera was attached to the lander. During the descent, the probe's speed was reduced so much that, despite the whirlwind of about 200 kilometers per hour, it collapsed like a solar sphere without a parachute and fell to the surface of Venus. On the 22nd of October 1975, the lander crashed into a mountainous region called Beta Regio. It tilted to one side, but the camera lens remained operational. It took 30 minutes of pictures at an angle of 124 degrees and sent them back to Earth. This was the first picture of the surface of a planet. The picture shows small and large rocks and a desert-like landscape. Its resolution was only 64 kilopixels, 750 times lower than the 48 megapixels of today's phones. Still, it was an incredible scientific feat. Just 6 days later, Venera 10 was launched. This time, its goal was to take panoramic photos as a camera had been damaged on the previous mission. It lasted 65 minutes and sent back blurry historical images. The next Venera 11 and 12 were not as successful, but the Soviets did not stop. In 1981, Venera 13 and 14 were launched. This time, they were equipped with air breakers, color cameras, microphones, drilling machines, and seismometers. Venera 13 spent about 127 minutes on the surface of Venus. It sent back to Earth color images, audio recordings of Venus's wind, soil samples, and chemical analysis. However, while analyzing this image, Soviet scientist Leonid Kasian claimed that a scorpion-like creature was moving in the image. Later, it was found that the shape was actually the lens cap of the lander, which melted in the intense heat and took the shape of a scorpion. Then the Soviets sent the Venus 15 and 16 artificial satellites into Venus's orbit. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Until then, the Soviets were the only country that, despite repeated failures, was finally able to successfully land on the surface of Venus and collect pictures, sounds, and soil samples. While other space agencies like NASA have stopped their missions by calling Venus a hell planet, Russian scientists have conducted more than 16 missions and proved that even the impossible can be done. Even after 42 years, no space agency is interested in sending a probe to Venus, because the temperature and pressure there are so terrible that the existence of any life there is impossible. However, with the improvement of technology, maybe one day people will look back at the evening stars, which look like a peaceful heaven from afar, but are actually an extreme hell. Did you know this information? It is difficult to imagine the terrifying appearance of Venus, which shines in the eastern sky every morning or evening. Share your opinion in the comments. If you want to see more videos related to space science, then let us know in the comment box. We will try to make more such videos. See you in the next video. Until then, stay well and healthy. I was with you, Shaon.